You cannot rise above the conversations you allow in your mind. And you've been letting the same three voices from 10 years ago sit in the room every time you try to build something new. Not the critics outside, the ones you invited in so long ago you forgot it was a choice. Declaration. Napoleon Hill called it drifting. What happens when you stop being the author of your mental environment? When you let every opinion, every repeated memory, every old conversation take a seat at your internal table without asking if it has any right to be there. He said this in Think and Grow Rich. Hear it as engineering. The environment of thought shapes the subconscious as surely as soil shapes a plant. If you plant a seed in dead soil, surrounded by weeds, the seed doesn't win. The environment does. Breath. Proverbs 13:20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but the companion of fools shall be destroyed. Not slowed, destroyed. That is not a warning about who you have lunch with. It is a warning about whose voice you allow to repeat inside your skull. Wisdom and foolishness live in every thought you rehearse, every story you keep telling yourself about what's possible. The companion of fools shall be destroyed. Who is your companion right now when you sit alone in the quiet? Breath. Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Every issue, your finances, your confidence, your discipline, flows from what you've been keeping in the inner room. You are not trying to control the world. You are trying to guard the gate. Declaration. I am guarding the door of my mind like a king guards his gate. I am removing every voice that has no vote in my future. I am the environment I choose, not the one I inherited. I am surrounding myself with proof, not permission seekers. I am raising the standard of every conversation I allow inside. Breath. The subconscious cannot distinguish between a real conversation that happened 10 years ago and one you rehearsed this morning. Frequency of repetition is more powerful than recency of reality. The voice you heard 1,000 times in your head last year is more real to your programming than the truth someone told you last Tuesday. This is why the internal environment is not a luxury concern. It is the core engineering problem of your life. You can have the right strategy, the right mentor, the right opportunity, and still get destroyed by the internal lens that processes all of it through, "You're not really enough, are you?" That lens distorts everything it touches. Breath. The mastermind principle, Hill's most powerful concept, creates what he called a third mind, a mind that didn't exist before the alliance formed, greater than the sum of its parts. What does that mean for you inside your own head? There is a version of your internal dialogue, if you cultivate it, that becomes greater than any single thought you've ever had. A council instead of a mob, a chorus instead of static. But you don't get there by accident. You build it, one eviction and one installation at a time. 3 categories of voices live in your mental environment right now. Builders, voices that challenge you to rise, hold you to your standard, refuse to let you settle. Keep every single one, double their volume. Ghosts, voices from people who no longer have access to you in real life, but run rent-free in your head. An old parent, an ex, a teacher who told you what you couldn't do. Ghosts don't belong in a living mind. They belong in the past they came from. Drifters, the voices that just repeat, the news loop, the scroll, the background noise that fills silence with nothing useful. They don't damage you the way ghosts do, but they dilute you. They occupy bandwidth that should be running something better. Your assignment right now, before the session ends, is simple. Name one ghost. Not out loud if you're not ready, but name it in your chest where you know it lives. That recurring criticism, that "who do you think you are?" that whispered comparison to someone you've never spoken to, name it. And then say this: your lease is expired. The building has new management. You are not renewing. I am not a passive resident of my own mind. I am the architect of its environment. I am evicting every thought that diminishes me and replacing it with one that builds. I am the product of the inputs I choose, and I choose differently today. I am a mastermind operating at full capacity, not a drifter running on inherited noise. I decide what's allowed in, I decide what stays, I decide what grows. The 432 Hz plus 528 Hz plus 963 Hz frequencies carrying this session are not decoration. 432 is grounding, rooting you in physical reality so you don't float above the work. 528 is clearing, working at the cellular level to dissolve the residue of repeated negative loops. 963 is crown layer filtration, opening the highest perception so you can hear your own voice above the static, clearly, without interference. Together, they are building the exact environment this episode is about, from the frequency up. Let me give you the action that closes the loop. Today, one conversation you've been having with yourself that doesn't belong in the architecture of where you're going. One story, one label, one "I'm just not the kind of person who." Find it, write it down if you can, and replace it with the declaration that is actually true. I am the kind of person who builds. I am the kind of person who finishes. I am the kind of person whose environment is intentional, elevated, and aligned. The architect doesn't wait for the environment to change. The architect designs it. Join us in the comments. Tell us one voice you are evicting today. Your answer isn't just for you. Someone reading it needed the permission to name theirs. Subscribe so you receive the next session. The Architect drops every day. Share this with someone who is stuck, not because they lack the plan, but because the internal conversation is still running the old one. Support the mission that keeps this free. Donate at ourfamilies.pplx.app/donate. Cash App at cashapp/ourfamilies321. Community, school.com/Third Eye Warriors. The warrior doesn't argue with every voice. The warrior decides which voices get a seat. I am the architect. I guard the gate. I build the environment. I rise above every conversation that no longer serves me.